Don't you want the story twice? Have no fear, the studio say remake so.
Okay, I am recording.
I am also recording. I need room noise. I need 10 seconds of room noise.
Is that what you learned from your undergrad film classes? If nothing else, just have 10 seconds of room tone. Am I ruining it for you?
I actually didn't take any undergrad film classes. All my film classes were in grad school. I was a history major, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm just telling on myself. That's what I remember from from my first production class.
4 years of film school. Room tone. Nothing else.
Welcome to Once More with Feeling. It's a podcast about original films and their often not so great remakes. I am Mariana Colleen. I am sometimes known as the Morbid Zoo. I make video essays about horror topics and communication topics and that sort of thing. That's my I don't know. Every time I make a video, I get more confused about what it is exactly that I do.
I think you're just a film critic. I think
think?
I think you're the just Pauline Kael for the 21st century.
That's high praise.
Yeah.
And I am of course joined by my good friend you.
Me, hi. I don't have a name, weirdly enough. God, that was horrible. I'm Gus Schiff. I'm a screenwriter, sometimes comedian, and always a giant history nerd. And we just really like movies. We're just big fans of movies.
I mean, we work in movies. It's not just that we're big fans.
Yeah.
I think we need to give ourselves a little more credit than that. Like I flatter myself that I do know something about movies, and so do you.
Yeah,
As it is the primary way we get our money and feed ourselves.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. I think it's I think there are people. I've been in and around the industry. I mean, I guess my whole life, but professionally, 5 years, and there are just a lot of people, weirdly, who come into this business as a business. And I think for both of us, I think the reason that we became friends is it's more than a job. It's more than a career. It's something to really care about. If it's done well, it's a really beautiful art form. And yeah, right now it's struggling.
A little bit. It's struggling a little bit, which is, I suppose, part of the motivation of doing this podcast in the way that we are. Comparing old versions of movies to new versions of movies.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a weird trend that's happening in the movie industry right now. The idea that we should be remaking movies as an artistic decision, as a business decision, I don't it's very, very difficult to see what kind of cultural reflection this is. This is sort of imparting to the modern age.
Yeah, and I'm really interested to dive into more of it, to see all the things that we're planning, to watch all the things that we're planning on watching, because I have a general idea of what remakes are, and it's not very positive.
Right.
But I think there have to be at least a couple as we watch more and more and more that we're okay, I get why this was made. This had a purpose besides just making money.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly don't want to make
broad generalizations.
Yes, and we've talked about this going into this, that we don't there is some danger of making this just a podcast about how bad movies are right now, and I don't want that to be the case. I am not against the idea of remaking movies. I think that's fine. I don't think that's it's happened in the past in ways that are perfectly acceptable and result in really interesting works of art that I'm sure we'll talk about in future seasons. Scarface comes to mind. Scarface is a remake.
Absolutely. Hairspray.
I mean,
sort of. One of my favorite movies of all time.
It's not a fundamentally inherently bad thing to do in general, but with Disney, I don't know how clear it is that that's going to be that is our driving opinion going into this, just because Disney remakes are uniquely like kind of dog shit. Or interesting, I guess.
Yeah, interesting. And that's what we'll be looking at. I think the whole first season is just Disney movies, and specifically animated Disney movies that have been remade as live action. So the first one today, obviously the first Disney feature of all time. One of the most important movies in American history, the first American feature animated movie, period. It's Snow White. And it's
Snow White.
Or should I say, it's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and also Snow White. Yeah.
Which we will get to.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we are doing all of these. This first season of Once More with Feeling will be completely focused on Disney remakes specifically, and we are doing them in chronological order. So the first that's why
the original piece.
Of the original releases. Yeah, and so that is why we're doing Snow White first, is because
also because the original movie is amazing.
Holy shit, dude! Like
we'll talk about that.
I mean, yeah, I hadn't seen the original Snow White since I was like in its entirety since I was like maybe 5, I think.
Yeah,
it was like super super heavy in my rotation when I was a little kid, and like so many of those images in that original movie are like such core memories of me, like for me, and so deeply informed like my initial impressions of what movies are and what movies can do. Yeah. So it's like very, very interesting to return to that and think about it in that way. So do you want to?
And we'll talk about more of that in a second. But drawing on my history nerddom, as I previously described myself as, I do really want. I think it's so important when you're talking about film, and especially historical film, and I think things in general. So important to have even just the most basic historical context for what this thing is, right? Disney today is a gigantic world-spanning company. In 1937, when this movie came out, it was pretty big. It was well known, but it had only been around for 9 years. Disney had been working in Hollywood since 1924, right in the middle of the Great Depression. And he sets up a studio, he joins a studio, and he's producing animated shorts. He was a cartoonist in Chicago before he moved out to Los Angeles. And in 1928, he gets into, and I'm not going to go super deep into it. There are literally dozens of books on the history of Disney. There's at least 3 books on the making of just the original Snow White. But anyway, 1928, he gets into this argument with his producer. He wants more money. The producer's like, no, classic. And he's like, okay, bye. And he quits, and he forms his own studio with his brother and like 1 or 2 animators from that original place. And the first short comes out, Steamboat Willie. One of also the most important animated things in American history.
First
it was
sound animated short, right?
Yeah, first sound synced animated short, I think is what they said at the time. Or what they used to call it. And it was gigantic. It was huge. The Mickey Mouse Club started because of Steamboat Willie. It was shown across the country. It did so well. And the thing about Disney is like he was, and this is important to know, he was already very successful. He was immediately a success. I don't use the term genius very often.
No, he was
and
a
I
genius,
especially
though.
don't use the term genius for like alleged anti-Semites. We're gonna cut that. But Disney was a genius, and I think like if you go back and watch those old shorts, if you watch Snow White, as we'll talk about soon, like it is beautiful and it is funny and it is great and it is so good. And so in 1934, still during the Great Depression, Disney has an idea for a feature film. They had done a lot of success with Mickey Mouse shorts. It had a couple other what are they called? Shows? I don't know. They didn't have TVs back then. They had a couple other like things come out, a couple other shorts.
These are the kinds of things that you would like, you know, like I just made a video about that opens with this. The sort of distribution model of early film was that like you bought a ticket for the entire day, and the entire day's showing would be like a slate of like a short, a newsreel, a main feature and a B feature, and these and the Disney shorts were typically the short at the beginning, which then Pixar obviously goes on to like kind of follow the model of, decades on, much later.
But so the point is that Disney was very successful with this. But movies always made more money. Feature films always made more money. So he wanted to do a feature, and he was inspired by one of the shorts he did, I think on The Three Little Pigs, to do a fairy tale story. And he eventually landed on this story from Grimm's Fairy Tales, the German fairy tale book. And everyone was like, that's a fucking terrible idea. His wife tried to convince him not to do it. His brother tried to convince him not to do it. His producing partner tried to convince him not to do it. And he was like, no, I'm going to do it. And so they spent 3 years making this film. And I think the initial budget estimation was like $250,000 at the time. Quite a lot of money. It ended up costing... It ends up costing 6 times that amount. It ends up costing about $1.5 million. He ran out of money. He had to mortgage his house. He had to get a $250,000 bank loan from Bank of America, of all places. But of course, as we know, the movie comes out. It does incredibly well. It goes crazy well. It's like the only like concrete number I could find for its initial run was Australia, I think, or at least overseas it gets like $9 million. Domestically, I'm sure it's much more. Snow White makes Disney so much money that they are able to buy and build the Disney Studio lot in Burbank, California, just off of the profits of that movie.
That's insane. He single-handedly built an empire just off this one movie.
It's insane, and it's like they were known for Mickey Mouse. Obviously, Mickey Mouse is still their mascot, but Snow White is really like built the company. It really turned it. It set it on a trajectory. Yeah,
the Disney Studio in Burbank is still like sort of aesthetically structured around Snow White iconography. It's on. I think the street is called Dopey Lane.
Is it really?
Yeah, like it's like the dwarves are.
I've been there multiple times. I never pay attention to the street name. Yeah, I know. I'm really bad. But the important thing to recognize is, and it's certainly like as 21st century people living in 2025 to look back at this thing that was made so long ago. It can look a little quaint. It can look a little old. But I think it is very important. Not even I think. It's very important to recognize how big a deal this movie was. It
is. It's also, I don't know. People, I get the impulse to think of it as like kind of quaint and old fashioned. But like when you sit down and watch this movie, I don't know how you can come out of it thinking like, ugh, so archaic, so like, basic and artless. I
was running into this. We've talked before, and I have an opinion that like art can't be like racist until it is good enough. Until there's like a certain that doesn't make it in, but like art has to have people have to want to watch it before it can be problematic. Like that's why like Birth of a Nation is such a big deal and such a problem, is because it was like a cutting edge, well done movie that was also like horribly racist with some very bad messaging.
Right.
You know what? I don't know where this was going. So
I mean, I will say that like I think the difference between something like Snow White and something like Birth of a Nation is that like Disney didn't come up with Snow White. Snow White is like is established folklore. you know, and that's a huge difference between what he's doing compared with what, you know, D.W. Griffith is doing, which is like, you know, raising the lost cause myth if 40, 50 years after the fact, and just like fundamentally rewriting history. And I think that there's like an impulse to compare something like Snow White, and it's sort of, I guess, you know, what has come to be thought of over the decades as sort of like troubling gender politics and sexism. I just don't think it's fair to compare that to something like Birth of a Nation, you know, like, we can talk about the whole gender politics aspect of it for sure. It's just that it's very, very fascinating to me that it seems like not only public opinion, but Disney itself has been in the past couple decades like leaning into this idea that, oh yeah, we were actually really, really sexist and awful in the past, you know? And watching this movie, that simply isn't what I get, you know?
Yeah, I didn't get that either. I mean, I saw something that was maybe reinforcing the ideas then, but this is also, you know, in 1937, it's only 17 years after the federal right for women to vote, which is the 19th Amendment. I think 21st, one of them.
19th, I think.
19th Amendment. 21st is alcohol reintegration. That's not the right word choice. And you know, they're positioning Snow White as like a mother figure and a very sweet girl and like all of these things. But you also have like the evil stepmother character who has a lot of agency and a lot of power, and a lot of stuff that I think if there was a intentional point of this movie to sort of like keep women down, would have not been, wouldn't have been there. I knocked my microphone over. But I do want to talk a little bit about like why Snow White was made. I mentioned a bit ago, like he wanted to make a movie. Movies made more money. I should say features made more money. This was a financial decision. And I think, especially today, a lot of criticism with Hollywood studios is like, they're only in it for the money. They're only in it for the money. And what's really interesting is Walt Disney was also in it for the money.
He was a businessman.
It's just, to me at least, and, you know, we're going to watch at least a handful of movies that were made while he was still alive. Like, money is the goal. Profit is the goal. It's still capitalism, but it's not profit at the expense of quality and at the expense of artistic direction. There was no like standard for what movie culture was at this point. Like I think that's something it's really something to keep in mind, especially when we're comparing the business decisions of the 1930s film industry when like movie making as an established art and business was literally like a generation old, you know. It was extremely new, and nobody really knew what it was going to mean for the art world. So, you know, the fact that it was like this very brief window of time where the money you could make in movies kind of was attached to what sort of artistic risks you were taking, you know. Kind of not the case anymore, which is kind of the reason we're in this remake situation to begin with, where it's like the risk to reward ratio has just completely gone in the other direction, where it's like, why would we ever take a risk, after the sort of like disastrous showing of Disney during the sort of like early 2000s. Why would we continue doing that when we have this backlog of like iconic, super important movies that we can just suck dry like a crouton. Yeah. So anyway, Snow White, original Snow White. There's so much to love about this movie.
I mean, I will say one of the first things I noticed is that I really like that she is, the animation is just like so next level. And you can see the points where they had it was like early mocap, where they just like had
it was rotoscope.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, it was. I think all of the humans were rotoscoped. It's so interesting. It's such a, and it's like to see how. I don't know if this was intentional. I have to assume it was because Disney's a genius. But to see like the difference in like how Snow White moved and the prince moved and not Maleficent and the evil stepmother moved versus like the fully animated characters like the dwarves and the animals, gorgeous.
And the
Beautiful.
way they incorporate the two is just
Oh
like
my God.
incredible. Where they feel like they're living in the same world, you know, even though you can
Yeah.
tell that there is that there was some kind of human, you know, referent there. I also like that, and this is something that Disney kind of immediately departs from after they stop, you know, relying on that human referent quite so much, and they have their like their sort of animating style down. Snow White, very rare among the Disney princesses, is shaped like a real girl.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. She doesn't have a 10-inch waist. You know, they get really, you know, as the decades go on, they get pretty generous with their interpretations of the female form, and that's just really not present here, which I appreciate.
What's really interesting to me is like obviously Snow White is a princess movie. She's the original Disney princess. They don't do another princess movie for 13 years. You know, you can. It's really not like princess. Oh my! I keep hitting my mic. Princess, like as a thing, as a branding, as like not really in Disney's mindset. It's not about princesses. It's about fairy tales and stories.
Yeah, the
that's
princess thing, it is. Yeah, the princess thing became kind of a matter of commodification in later decades of Disney. It was just a sort of convenient way to package Disney products. It's not really necessarily representative of what like Disney was after at the time. Certainly between the 30s and the 60s, that is not necessarily the focus of what they were doing. They weren't trying to, you know, even though that we like know Disney as a company that, you know, perhaps puts forth like these certain like retrograde ideas of femininity and whatever, like the decision to make Disney synonymous with retrograde femininity, it was not a choice Disney made himself. Like that he and the company were focused on animation and specifically animating humor. You know, that was the kind of the point of Disney. The sort of aesthetic priority in Snow White is the dwarves.
Yeah.
They're super funny.
They're hilarious. I think like, and this is something I noticed while watching it is, I mean, when you watch it, you can tell it's an old movie, not just from the animation style, but the structure to me, I think is really interesting because I could almost feel Disney's experience with short form in the movie because it doesn't. And I've been watching some older movies lately, and it doesn't even feel like those older movies. It feels like a bunch of sequences, stitched together with a story. Like the opening sequence with the wishing well is very distinct from the forest sequence, which is very distinct from the cleaning sequence, which is distinct from the dwarf stuff. And so they have these like, and it really feels, and I think this works very much in its favor and is a reason why it's still very engaging, is each part of the movie has a very concrete beginning, middle, end. It tells its own little story, and then it moves on to its next little story and its next little story. And that's how I think it can get away with having basically no plot.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's aware of this. Nothing happens in that movie. There are 4 things that happen. And it's still like, you know, you can sit there for the full 82-minute runtime and be like, this is amazing. This is so much fun. This is
and I think to modern audiences, I think part of the reason that it's that the impulse is to read these early Disney movies through a kind of an identity politics lens is because I kind of think that people have sort of lost the ability to meet a movie like this on its own terms. I think the impulse is to be like, but what's this movie about?
Yeah.
and like try and interpret it like this is an undergrad, race, gender, and in film class, like it isn't, like this is popular reception. That is one method through which you can approach this movie, but it is by no means the only method.
And also, I think it's really important. I don't want to go out on a limb here. I don't want to say something controversial. A movie can like espouse ideas that you don't agree with, and it can still be a good movie. Like,
yeah,
I think the big one. There's a British comedian that I love, and I don't want to say the wrong name, so I'm not going to say any name. But he talks about how like all comedies are left wing and all action movies are right wing, and I'm like, yeah, that's generally correct.
Yes,
also,
pretty much.
Die Hard fucking kicks ass.
Yeah, of course. I don't like. I don't know. I guess there's. I guess I haven't seen a whole lot of left-wing opinion about John Wick, but to me that kind of says to me that there's nothing really to dislike about a movie like John Wick, except that it's an action movie and therefore just kind of passively right-wing, because action movies are the modern Western.
Yeah, and it's just, and I think just the point, in case we cut any of that stuff, is really just like you can disagree with a movie and still like it and still find it beautiful.
Definitely. Especially in a case like this where the plot really isn't the focus. The animation is the focus. The hijinks are the focus. Like the things that you can do with animation and the sort of persuasion of an audience that is possible with animation is what is important here. That's why Disney made this movie.
Yeah. It works so well. You can see things in this movie that would like end up in Fantasia in a couple of years. Mm-hmm. Or it is Fantasia, right?
Yeah.
The Mickey Mouse Wizard one? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Like there's so much rhythm in everything. There's so much like musicality even outside the songs. I forgot it was a musical. I don't know if that happened to you. They started singing. I was like, oh, right. The like opening song. And then there was a second song. And I was like, wait a second. I did not remember this movie correctly.
But it's like it is a musical, but it is a musical that constructs its songs. I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to articulate this correctly because I'm not like a musical nerd, but like again it is a musical, but the songs are not the focus of the movie. The animation is the focus of the movie. The songs exist in order to provide a rhythm for the animation to match itself to.
It's something with a very clear artistic vision.
Yeah.
And that's something you can see very plainly as an audience member.
Yes.
And I liked it a lot. What was your favorite part of this movie? What was your favorite like couple seconds of this film?
I think my favorite shot is when Snow White is entering the dwarf's cottage and she opens the door and all the animals come in with her, and it's so smooth and it's like the kind of thing that where it's like at a certain level of artistry, you kind of stop thinking about the logistics and the mechanics of stuff, which is a huge problem that I have with a lot of modern filmmaking, where it's like so CG heavy, and the focus of the movie is like, look how cool this CG is. Doesn't it look difficult to make? Isn't it impressive that we spent this much money on this? And it's like, okay, but what, like, I shouldn't be noticing the CG, Yeah.
We'll get there. We'll talk about that.
We'll get there. But like, so she opens the door of the dwarf's cottage, and the birds and the bunnies and the deer and the turtle, all come in with her, and it's such a complicated shot, and like they're managing so many moving pieces in that shot, and it's all just absolutely gorgeous. All the animals are just so fucking cute.
Really cute. That's in my notes. Animals cute. So cute.
It was so cute. And they and like Snow White, you can tell that they did a lot of animal research, in the same way that like that Flow last year, my favorite movie of 2024,
Very
like
good.
you can tell that those animators spent a lot of time watching cats and how cats move and how cats emote.
Not the musical
you know?
cats, watching the animal.
The animal cat.
Okay.
Yes. They yes, they went and found a cat and just sat and watched it
Yeah.
to see what it did, you know? And you can tell that that's what they did for that movie in the same way. And like to that to me, like that almost makes a movie kind of a transcendent experience to me, because it's like, to me, evidence that a filmmaker or an animator is paying attention to the natural world in that way and trying to evoke some kind of fidelity to the natural world while still remaining stylized. Like, to me, that denotes an extreme amount of respect, not just for your work, but for the thing that your work is representing.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the thing that I like most in film is, it's a combination of talent, obviously, and passion. It's not enough to just be good. You have to care.
Yeah.
And I think for the best films, at least for people like us who are cool and good at watching movies, it's really like those two things really make a film. And I think there's so much. My favorite part, thanks for asking, is the part right after the thing that you were talking about, the cleaning sequence. I thought it was so fun because it put the woman where she belongs. No, not gonna keep that. No, because it's like it was enthralling to me because it was so intricate and there were so many moving parts, and every part of every scene, any part of the frame that you looked, there was something happening and there was something to watch. And it's almost like Rube Goldberg machine-esque, where it's like you could rewind and watch it over and over and over, and there's always a new thing to see, something that you didn't notice, some cute element. And I watched this movie with my very cute and very wonderful girlfriend. I actually watched both movies with her, and I will have some quotes from her. But during the cleaning sequence, like one of the things that she really pointed out that I didn't notice, because she's much more observant than I am, is there's still a story being told, right? It's not just a well-animated sequence. It's like there is a story, and it's a small story. It's Snow White teaching these woodland critters how to clean and like where to put the dust and like how to shake out your tail. But it's even just having that small element, like all of it's just so beautiful. It's so great. It's so good. This is a great movie. It's such a good movie.
It is a great movie. Well, I mean, it's like, and it's not just that it's cute is the thing, you know? It's that like individual scenes themselves are cute, yes, but like there's also a lot of really intense beauty and a lot of like pathos happening in this movie, you know?
Oh my God. The background is beautiful. Like there's so much to see in the background. And it's like, and we'll talk about this more when we talk about the both movies. But it is enthralling to see how gorgeous these sets are and how much detail went into it. And it's just so nice. What was your favorite song in the movie? That's something else I wanted to ask.
I think, this is maybe an unpopular opinion. I think the Prince's song, the One Love song, I just like, whatever, fuck off. I'm a huge romantic, you know. I think that song is really, really nice, and is kind of it kind of pulls the whole thing together. You know, that's how they start it, that's how they end it, and it makes me happy.
Yeah. My favorite song was the dwarf cleaning song, the dwarfs watching song when they're like washing up in the tub. I just thought it was so cute. According to the Disney Wiki, it's called the Bloodle Uddle Dum song. No, that's the title of the song, Bloodle Uddle Dum. So much fun. And then just such like how do you take washing yourself?
Yeah.
And make it so fun to watch.
I know. It's
That's
like
crazy.
it is crazy, and I think that again, I have to wonder how many people Disney is so suffused into how we understand popular culture that I think we're kind of in a position where everybody thinks they know what Snow White is, you know,
but they know Disney's Snow White.
Yeah,
They know this version of the story, not the original story, which also
Yeah.
I probably should have looked up before we recorded this episode.
What?
But I didn't. I probably should have looked up like the original story. I think that'd be interesting. to
Whatever.
compare. Well, yeah. Who gives a shit? We're here to talk about movies and remakes.
I did find an article, pretty contemporary article with the time. We'll see. Do I have it pulled up? I think this is Variety, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
God, I'm so bad at research.
Aren't you a PhD candidate?
The problem with the dwarves in the original story, according to Walt Disney, is that, here we go, the Grimm Brothers fairy tale was not much help. The dwarves were phantom figures with little definition. Their names were not evocative of their personality, and so that is a Disney addition.
Yeah.
That like again, with the point of this movie being innovations in animation and what kinds of storytelling possibilities are capable are possible in animation. The dwarves are really the focus of this movie. You know, that like the reason they're characterized the way they are is so that we have some allowance for comedy beats, you know. Not to bring too much of the new movie into this conversation when we're still talking about the old one, but like one of my huge pet peeves about the new one is that Dopey does not have a disability. Okay.
Dopey never had a disability.
There's nothing wrong with Dopey. He doesn't need to be fixed.
He's just a little silly. He's a little silly boy.
This
Never
article,
tried to talk.
Yeah, this article says that one of the animators of Snow White says, Dopey was the toughest of all. The boys tried to make him too much of an imbecile, which wasn't what we really had in mind. We wanted to pattern him after Charlie Chaplin and tried many appropriate voices. The voice that came closest to what we wanted sounded too much like Doc. Then somebody suggested that maybe he shouldn't talk at all. That was the answer. We decided that perhaps Dopey could talk, but that he never really tried. The reason they make Dopey silent is not because they're like making fun of nonverbal people. That's not what's happening here. Like they're setting up these characters to be broad archetypes that they can then use for comedy beats to demonstrate their adeptness at animation. Yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. I mean, that's basically all I had to say about the first one.
Okay, great. Let's talk about the next. Well, I mean, that's a good segue into the next one.
Yeah,
let's talk about the new Snow White.
Let's talk about
Holy
Snow
shit.
White, period. 2025. No Seven Dwarfs.
Okay, I have the history for this one.
Yeah,
I did the
bring it.
homework. This
Hit
movie plagued with issues, both human and divine. As with the original, it's one of the few manners in which they kind of reflect each other. It seems like everybody around the production team for this movie knew it was going to be a bad idea, including the production team itself. It doesn't really seem like anybody particularly wanted to make this movie. The production was set back. I think it was announced in like 2019 or something. Production was set back by COVID.
I'm pretty sure it showed up in my nightmares. And like as soon as Cinderella came out, I was like, oh no, they're going to do Snow White. Fuck.
I know. So first they couldn't film because it was COVID. Then they couldn't film because of the strike in 2023. Then their set caught on fire. And so like it's I don't know how much far back that set the production schedule, you know, I don't think it set it back that much. Mostly it just seems like confirmation from the universe that this movie was never supposed to exist to me, you know. I don't think that you know, listen, this is the inaugural episode. We're going to come down hard on this movie. And I just like, this episode is going to be full of disclaimers about how
we promise, like, we're not going to be we're only harsh when the movie deserves it.
This movie deserves it.
It's so bad.
It's abominable.
It's one of
really
the worst.
bad.
It's legitimately one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Yes.
And I watched Fast X.
Did you enjoy it?
No, it was awful. It was terrible.
I I don't think any movie better represents Disney's newfound treatment of actors as both free marketing and as a fall guy for when things go to shit.
Yeah,
You know?
I think that's really interesting. It's worth talking about, but not spending a crazy amount of time on. Is like there's some muddling of the air because of the whole situation with like Rachel Ziegler and with Gal Gadot, with their positions on Israel Palestine, on Ziegler's like opinion about the original movie.
I think it's Zegler. I think.
Zegler? Okay, let me say Zegler, and we could just cut that and put it when I said Ziegler a couple times.
But I do think it's important to touch upon that one difference between Disney in 1937 and Disney now that really has nothing to do with any I don't know, specific industry dynamic being better or worse. It is just a difference that when Disney first made Snow White, the idea that the stars of movies should be celebrities and should be representatives of the film and be sort of objects of fascination and aspiration was like, it wasn't that new, but it was still not the focus. The idea that it
wasn't
a movie,
the focus by the studio, I think.
Yeah,
as much as it is today.
Right. The idea that you make a movie and then you send your star out to go sell it was not really a thing. So especially for animation.
Well, because it wasn't the star of the movie is the studio.
Yeah, exactly.
The point of 1937 Snow White is that it's Disney's movie. They literally had posters that said his first feature length film.
Yeah, I don't think that the actors, either the voice actors or the the rotoscope models, they were credited obviously, but they were not the focus of of really any of the marketing campaign at all. And that's a pretty stark difference from what we see today, where Disney casts a movie, and that anybody casts a movie. If you're like a big studio, and it's like half the focus is who's starring in it and what they're all about. And so considering that, the fact that Disney cast a non-white actress to play Snow White, it's not that that's a bad, intrinsically a bad thing to do. It's
Not
the
at
fact
all.
that Disney knew what they were doing and put Rachel Zegler in a position to have to defend her own casting, which I think is unbelievably cynical and unfair. I don't think that's a good thing to do to your actress, and I think it's really cowardly as a studio to arrange this situation such that defending Rachel Zegler's right to not be harassed online in the public eye also somehow translates into defending the studio of Disney itself, as if Disney is some underdog, that's the situation that was created here. And I just think that's really kind of,
and it's something that Disney keeps doing, especially recently, post COVID. I think it's and we'll talk about this more when we get to the Little Mermaid movie, and we'll talk about. But I know this is something you've mentioned, and we don't have to get that into it because it's very different. But with the Acolyte Star Wars series, with Amandla, and it is just really cynical. And I think I'm a big proponent. Look, I am a big Greek mythology head. I understand that stories change over time and on depending on which culture they're told in, and it's there's a reason that there's an Asian Jesus and a white Jesus and a black Jesus. There can be a Latina Snow White. There's who cares?
Sure.
But to your point, I think they did it in such a cynical way, and it was just really not the worst part of the movie by a mile. talk about
what is the worst part of the movie to you?
all of it.
Let's
the fact that it
let's
exists.
rank them. Let's rank our
so
top
I
five
tried
worst
really-
parts of this movie.
I tried so hard.
Let's talk about the things we liked. Is there anything that you liked about this movie?
I tried really hard to find something I liked, and I'm not gonna say that like this is necessarily like great, but it is in a movie like this. I knocked over my microphone. Controversial. I actually kind of enjoyed watching Gal Gadot. I thought her normal acting as the queen was like campy and silly, and I didn't mind it.
I won't disagree with you. I've seen a lot of people, complain about her acting. It's very wooden, this and that. I think that what's happening here is that this version of Snow White is very much a Broadway production, which I also hate, and we can talk about that too. And
That's a bad opinion. We'll talk about it. We'll get there.
But Gal Gadot is not a Broadway actress, and she is especially not a Broadway singer. So like her, dance number, her villain song, I think is actually pretty okay. I like the choreography. It is the only moment of like kind of fun high camp in this movie, but her voice just does not have the power to pull it off.
No.
She's very beautiful.
Yeah, she's beautiful. She makes that stupid costume look as good as it possibly can.
Yeah.
I have very strong opinions, and I'm so glad that we're doing animation for the first like 19 episodes, because I have such strong opinions about like the medium that something exists in, and how important it is to design to the medium. And there are things that work really well in animation that look fucking stupid in live action. Like a lot of the costumes in this movie.
So one of the things about the original Snow White is that like it's an animation showcase. Yes, it's also a color showcase.
It's really, the first color animated movie.
Yes, that was like groundbreaking in the day.
There's a whole like story of the journey Disney animators went on to find the right shade of red for Snow White's and the Queen's lips.
Yeah, it's like so much detail went into arranging that movie to be the kind of kaleidoscopic, show of color that it is. And that translated into real life looks like a fucking mess.
Oh, yeah.
The costumes look like garbage. They look really bad. And I'm not saying that to be an asshole, but like
I think just to throw another disclaimer on there, like we both understand how difficult it is to make movies.
Absolutely.
We both understand that like great talent guided down the wrong creative path can produce some dog shit.
Certainly.
Please, like, if you worked on this, don't feel bad. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I think so, like it's just one of those things, like so much effort went into it, and you can, it went into most of it. We'll talk about some of that.
Well, so here's one problem that I think is happening here. Let's go ahead and talk about the fact that this is a Broadway production, and it is not really properly a Disney movie. It's trying to be a Broadway musical, and this is the fact. In everybody's performance styles, it's in the costuming. These are like Broadway level costumes. They're meant to be sort of like seen from the back seats. Like in the way that it's shot, it's like everybody's. Did you notice that everybody's kind of like cheating toward the audience?
Yeah.
And like we don't have to do that. This is a movie. We don't have to end every musical number with a tableau toward the fourth wall. You know. I think this movie is kind of confused about what genre it's in, what medium it's in, to your point, that this does not feel like it's trying to, it's trying to be a movie. When I was watching it, I thought about how much I like Wicked and how much Wicked feels like a true adaptation of a Broadway production to
Right.
film, you know, that they are putting filmic elements into it in a way that this movie really is not. It's like every set feels like a soundstage, and that's fine if it's a Broadway production, but that's not what this is.
I mean, I think even the soundstage thing, like, I think this is very comparison-y, but it's like, you know, I watched these two movies a day apart, and then I watched the original one again.
I watched them both again last night
because it was really good.
It was so good.
And just one of the things I noticed is, like, one of the reasons that the animation works is you can control how much detail you put in
Yeah.
to the characters, into the set, into all that stuff. With the live action, because it's live action, you have to have live action amounts of details.
Yes.
And so you make horrible decisions, like giving these dwarves like pores
Oh, dude.
on their face.
I think the hi-ho sequence was one of the most uncomfortable cinematic experiences I can remember ever having. I kind of had to like sit there and grit my teeth.
When
you know?
that started, my wonderful girlfriend, she said, have we lost good movies forever? When the hi-ho sequence started. I think let's talk about the mine sequence, and let's talk about the mine sequence very specifically, because I think this is a very good example of why this movie didn't work at all. Number one, like, what is going on with the hands? What is this like magic world
Which
building?
never comes back.
It never comes back. I noticed at the beginning they like, and this is not the mines, but it is related to the mines. With the queen, it's like the reason she's so obsessed with beauty is because the beauty gives her magic powers
Or something.
and there's just some really poor attempts at world building going on that are not necessary.
Yeah.
Like the audience buys in very easily to this. Like the queen
Right.
can just be evil. The dwarves can just be dwarves. They don't have to have magical hand powers. They went on like a roller coaster. They went on like a space mountain ride with the mines. Why? What did that do?
You know, it's like the original Snow White was an animation showcase before it was a story. And I think that we have forgotten that. The original Snow White was not supposed to be completely for kids the way that this is. Like the only sector of people I can imagine liking this new version of Snow White are like very, 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 very young children, like 4, you know, which people I think sort of passively accept as the target audience for Disney, but it isn't. Like it certainly was not when the original Snow White came out. The original Snow White is not completely for kids. It's also for adults. The point was to get people to take animation seriously as a legitimate art form. And Disney, I think, did that so unbelievably well that we've forgotten that there was a time before animation was a dominant cultural commodity, and we weren't really sure what it was for. It's kind of the same argument that I have about clowns a lot of the time, where it's like, clowns are not you know a theater tradition that is specifically for children. That's a very new artifact of pop culture. Clowns are supposed to be for adults specifically. It's supposed to be like adults, you know, making fun of each other, and that's a little bit what Disney was doing. I mean, not least for the fact because. Not the least reason for which is that his animation style, as a lot of cultural critics have pointed out, was kind of based on minstrelsy, which is a form of clowning. You know, it's a really noxious, horrible, racist, shitty, awful, tradition of clowning. But that's what it is. Right. Part of the reason the dwarves are so awful in this movie, I think, is because there is no replicating the kind of humor and rhythm that's achievable in hand-drawn animation. Because live action is beholden to a certain fidelity to physical law, you know.
That's actually something that I noticed too. It's like they try to recreate. There's this moment in the original movie where they get back to the house and they see that the lights are on and stuff's going.
Yeah.
And Doc stops and all of the dwarves bump into each other and it plays the like xylophone bonk noise. And it's like it's a small little moment. It's so like cute. It's the noise helps so much. They kind of smonk into each other. And they tried to do that in this movie. And it, like, number one, I don't think they animated it correctly. Like, I think there was just, like, it was too slow for what they wanted. And the second thing is, like, they didn't have the bonk noise.
Important.
And very important. And the third thing is, like you just said, like, there's a need for physical fidelity that and I want to make a comparison between a movie like this and I guess a lot of modern movies, but we're talking about Snow White and something like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Because Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a live action movie with this like 2D animation done on top of it. And it's so interesting to me because the live action stuff does have that sort of faithful fidelity to physical reality or whatever. And the animation doesn't. And it works really, really well because those two styles are so distinct and it's so easy to tell apart. And so, spoilers, when a live action character gets flattened by like an anvil or a fridge and reacts like a cartoon, that is a major twist in the movie and it works really well and it's a great movie and you should watch it.
It is a great movie.
But
I think, we can even, pull that into a more modern kind of melding of live action and 2D animation and the kind of logic, like playing with the kind of logic available between the two with Enchanted, which I think is a really good movie. I like it a lot,
Enchanted's great.
And that's like the entire joke of Enchanted is that it's like a Disney princess who has found herself in real life and how logic kind of, adjusts accordingly. And it works really well. It's really cute and it's really funny because they are acknowledging that there is a difference between what is possible in animation and what is possible in real life. In real life, you can't have these dwarves, not that they do this in this particular movie, but like all of the Disney coded jokes that he introduced to animation and the standards by which we judge it are removed. So like you can't have eyes that go awooga and you can't like float when you smell a delicious pie in live action. You just can't. It's not going to work.
and it's also it's just lacking like the rhythm.
Yeah.
Of the animation, because like in animation you can cheat a little bit. You can change a character's physical size and shape and it's fine and it works, and then you just can't do it here, and so you get these horrible sequences where they try to pay homage. I think homage. They try to pay homage to the original movie, and it just falls so flat, and it's just bad.
Let's talk about more bad things about this movie.
Let's talk about more bad things. My girlfriend said, I believe this was also during the Hi Ho song. Maybe a little bit later. She says, it sounds like someone come up with Disney songs into generative AI.
Okay, so right, yes, we were talking about this being a Broadway production and why that is the wrong approach, in my opinion. You seemed to push back.
I think Broadway productions are good.
I also think Broadway productions are good, but that's not what this movie is. I mean, that's not what this movie should be. It's like it should be a movie. It shouldn't be a Broadway production.
I have a lot to say about this, and unfortunately, we have to wait until the Lion King episode, which is quite a ways away. But I think have you seen a lot of Broadway?
I mean, not on stage, but like, I don't have money. Are you kidding?
Okay, yeah. I do. I'm super rich. No, I went to Broadway a lot. My grandparents live in New York, or my grandfather lives in New York, and I've seen a lot of shows on Broadway. And it's like there is definitely a modern movement of shows that are like this movie with
Yeah.
this sort of like fucking infuriating rhyme schemes. And they're
Oh,
like,
it's
look how
awful.
goddamn clever I am.
God,
I'm
I
like
hate it.
Lin-Manuel Miranda, but less talented. And it's really obnoxious. And so I agree.
Yeah.
Like, I think this movie fits into that area of like these modern Broadway
Yes.
shows that I don't like.
Yeah.
Many people
Well,
like. It's okay
crucially-
to like them.
It is okay to like them. That's fine. I just don't think it's appropriate for this movie. Crucially,
No.
my two least favorite movie musicals of the last decade, Dear Evan Hansen and The Greatest Showman, were written by this songwriting team
Yeah.
and produced by Mark Platt,
Yeah.
who produced this movie also. So
Yeah.
that's why they like those two guys. I forgot their name. Pasek and I don't know, some other P name. I don't remember.
Yeah. Penis. No, not penis. Oh my God.
They, bless their hearts, all their songs sound exactly the same.
There's one song that I really love from Dear Evan Hansen, and it's Sincerely Me.
Yes, it's fun.
And yeah, I mean, I agree.
Where they're like
they all,
very anthemic and very like it's very much, I blame Wicked, for beginning this trend in how musicals sound right now, where it's like very poppy, but Wicked does it. The reason it works for Wicked is because
the poppiness is like is part of Glinda's
Exactly,
character,
exactly,
and so
yes.
her songs and when she's singing are of course more poppy,
Exactly.
because that's who she is as a person.
Yeah.
I agree. I think this might be a weird take. I think there's so much leniency in audiences nowadays
Yeah.
that like when things are suddenly bad, people are like, how did it get that bad? Meanwhile, they're like, well, it's not the best thing, but at least blah, 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 blah. It's the participation medals of
Yeah. Well, that's as good a point as any, I guess, to talk about the bafflingly good reviews this movie has gotten.
I could not. I looked at Metacritic preparing for this, and I just don't get it. I like Hollywood Reporter gave it like a 9 out of 10.
They're out of their goddamn minds. What?
A vibrant retelling with a smart script. The CGI dwarves are a bit creepy, and the movie exists primarily for brand extension and IP strip mining. But it is most of those are quotes from the review, but it is still a very good movie.
That's so depressing,
It's just I just worry that critics are afraid of doing their job, of being critical. Like it's not like criticism. So many of this, as much as it is like opinion having.
Yes.
Which is different, and it's important that it's different.
Well, I mean, I don't even see very many opinions being offered up here. Is the thing? It's like so many of these critics are just sort of taking for granted that, like, well, this is what we have.
It exists.
So yeah,
They did it.
Yeah. So like,
Not gonna see any other Disney movies at theaters right now.
So, you might as well be happy with what you have. Like I went through some positive reviews myself, and two commonalities emerged for me. The argument for this version of Snow White being good rests on two premises. One is that remaking movies is not a big deal. You shouldn't ask why these movies are being made any more than any other movie. Here's a quote from.
But I would like, if this movie wasn't remade, if the original Snow White never existed, they pulled this out of Grimm's book after the success of Frozen.
Then it's appropriate to ask why it's being made. Then I guess.
Then then it's still the same question of like, why the fuck did they make this this way?
Yeah. So here's a quote from
without the swearing. Why did they make this way?
Yes, exactly. So here's a quote from Douglas Davidson, I think independent film critic. This is all just from Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know these people. I'm not trying to come for them, I don't think these guys should be bullied or whatever. Okay. But like the quote, kind of opens his review by saying, I've come to realize that no title, original, remake, or reboot, has justification beyond the same genesis. Someone believes it's a good idea. So, okay, but I'm here for your opinion, dog.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't care that somebody thought it was a good idea. I want to know if you thought it was a good idea. That's what this is about.
Yeah.
You know? So this ultra passivity and just like, well, who knows why any movie is being made? You know, this is all just subjective, and so you know, you have no right to question the motivations of why a movie is being made. Just accept it for what it is, and it's like, okay, but what it is why it's being made. You know,
right?
That's
exactly.
It's half the point.
Yeah. Let's talk about why they made this movie. Or at least why we think they made this movie.
Laundering, money laundering. I don't know. Like, this is one of the most expensive movies they've ever made, and I genuinely it seems
really?
Yes, $300 million.
No.
Yes,
I don't accept that.
Without marketing. Every report I've read and every article I've read has reported between $250 million and $300 million. Yeah. Prior to marketing.
Yeah.
That's an unbelievable amount of money. That's
what Wikipedia says.
Okay, that is on par with the kind of risk that Disney was taking when he initially made this movie, when it seemed insane. You know.
Well, I don't think it is on par with the risk, because remember, Disney personally had to mortgage his house.
True. Yeah.
And get a loan. Mm-hmm. And this is just, you know, this is what, like a year of ticket sales at Disneyland?
Yeah, I guess so.
But I think I think that's really interesting to talk about risk in regards to this movie. I think that this movie this movie screams executives to me.
Totally.
This is not a movie that the thing we talked about with the first one, with like passion, didn't feel that at all. And I like Mark Webb as a director.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't know Aaron Cressida Wilson as a writer. I have not seen any of her other movies. There's no reason to believe that like they are. There's much evidence to believe that they are both very good at their jobs. This movie is bad, and the reason, I think one of the things that really stuck out to me in watching it, it's not a very long movie. I don't think.
Blessedly.
I don't remember it being that long. Yeah,
man, it feels like it lasts forever though. Holy shit! Because there are so many plot cul-de-sacs, you know.
Well, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about. It feels incredibly unfocused. Yeah, it feels like they went down one path and they're like, well, I can't do that. Go down another path. Oh, I can't do that. Go down another path. And a lot of the time, when that happens, it's because of executive meddling, and it's because of reshoots. Yes. And it's because of major changes partway through production of the movie. One thing that I really noticed, my favorite song, just to jump ahead in our outline, my favorite song in this movie was Princess Problems, because I thought it was like a cute little flirty song. And also, and this is important, it's the only song that actually, it's very Broadway, but it's Broadway in a good way, in my opinion, because it's the only song that actually moves the plot forward, moves the story forward, establishes and changes character relationships. One of the things that really frustrated me about this movie is the songs don't do anything. The song Hi Ho, and introduces
that's like,
us to the dwarves. Like,
we
know them. We know who they are.
And that didn't matter in 1937 when, again, the focus was the animation, and the entire point of the songs was just to provide some kind of rhythm to like anchor the animation to. And that's not the case anymore. It's not doing the same thing. So
alongside my favorite song, alongside Princess Problems, I noted it felt like the movie was shot differently, acted differently, written a little differently. That moment in the film felt like a different movie. And in fact, that whole sequence of Snow White with the 7 thieves and also the hot guy felt like something else. And to talk for a second, like, about I guess, a little more, not really concrete things, but like the filmic language
Yeah.
of that sequence suggests that these are all characters that we should know and recognize.
Correct. Yeah.
These are all people who have had lines in the movie.
Yes.
These are all people who we should be emotionally invested in. And of course, in the final movie, I think 2 of them have lines. 2 of them end up together after
Right.
like literally one scene. And then you have that moment at the end where the crossbow guy like has his crossbow moment of sniping the dagger out of the evil stepmother's hand. That all suggests to me, as someone who's pretty good at writing and understands story structure quite well, that they were supposed, like, and I think this is why it's called Snow White. This is not a super original theory. You can see this all over the internet. The reason it's called Snow White is because I don't think the dwarves were supposed to be in the movie at all.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and briefly touch upon what Peter Dinklage said about this movie that seemed to like throw Disney into an absolute tailspin for no reason. Again, with your like over meddling of executives thing here. Like this is how budgets for movies get so bloated. My understanding is that the budget for this movie was initially not $300 million. They way outpaced this budget, and it, like, to me, it feels as if there was a point, maybe several, in the production of this movie where several people were like, we shouldn't be making this movie. We should just pull the plug. But then they couldn't because
they should have.
They shouldn't have made this movie. It was an absolute disaster. So Peter Dinklage on Mark Maron's podcast, I think back in 2020, before they were even shooting, he says,
"It'd be so great as if we could like actually just pull the audio from that.
Because
that would make us sound so professional, dude. Holy shit. We're real podcasters."
Literally no offense to anything, but I was a little taken back by the they were very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White.
Yeah.
But you're still telling the story of Snow White.
Snow White, yeah.
And 7 Dwarfs.
Sure.
So, look, take a step back and look at what you're doing there.
Yeah.
I know. That makes no sense to me.
Well,
You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that fucking backward story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the fuck are you doing, man? Have I done nothing to advance the cause from my soapbox? I guess I'm not loud enough. I don't know what studio that is, but they were so proud of that, and all love and respect to the actress and to the people who thought they were doing the right thing. But I'm just like, what are you doing?
So to me, what this sounds like is Peter Dinklage questioning the wisdom of making this movie at all, right? Like, it sounds to me that what he's saying is not that we should make the dwarves CG in order to avoid stereotyping little people. What he's saying is that, like, maybe it's not such a great idea to make this story to begin with if this is like an aspect of it that we can't properly manage in this day and age, especially if we're like, bending over backward to make sure this story is feminist enough compared to the original. To do that and then just not touch the dwarves at all I get it. It seems a little odd to me. And so Disney released a statement. They said to avoid I think this is like in 2000 or 2021, 2022. Somewhere within that time frame. Disney says, to avoid reinforcing stereotypes from the original animated film, we are taking a different approach with these 7 characters and have been consulting with members of the dwarfism community. So it seems pretty clear that there was a point in this movie where they toyed with the idea of reimagining, which is, the heavy air quotes here, with reimagining the dwarves as the bandits instead. And then everybody lost their shit when that was sort of floated as a possibility. So then they added the dwarves back in. And so now they have these 2 competing groups of sidekicks, and it sucks.
Well, the insane thing to me is, like, they would have had to started production with one idea or the other idea and then change their mind after the shooting had already happened. And then smash them together for some reason. And I think this is a problem. Like, they wrote themselves into a corner with the story because they changed the prince to Mr. Hot Thief. But it's just like, and this is something that I think is so important, and it will be a point that I keep bringing up because it is something that I'm just really noticing Disney lacking right now. There's no creative vision to this modern movie, because there's no, like, the point of this movie is to make a Snow White movie. Right. The point of this movie is, like, we have this incredibly popular IP from 1937, and we need to do it again to make money.
Pretty much.
There are ways to do remakes. There are ways to do live action remakes that are not that. I'm sure we'll see that when we cover The Jungle Book, 101 Dalmatians. Maybe even, like, I might even like Beauty and the Beast. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I like 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah. But this movie in particular, I think, is particularly guilty of it, and I honestly stopped watching them after The Lion King because I was so disappointed. So maybe other ones are also guilty, but this movie is particularly guilty of it. There is no reason for Snow White 2025 to exist.
No, there isn't. You don't accept that? What was Davidson's quote? That no title, original, remake, or reboot has justification beyond someone believing it's a good idea. You don't believe that somebody just believing it's a good idea is enough reason for a movie to exist? Wow, Gus. Wow, sounds pretty gatekeepy to me.
I think that there were people who thought it was a good idea, but I think the reason they thought it was a good idea was not like, let's tell this story,
right.
Let's showcase this actress, let's get this great director, let's get this great writer. I think it's like, we can make money off of this.
Yes,
and that's the beginning and end.
Yes, and that matters.
Their thought process.
That matters. It matters if somebody's making their movie because they think it's going to make money. To the exclusion of all other benefits.
Yeah, and look, money is important. I'm not going to deny that. Please sponsor us. But money cannot be the only reason that you do something.
Yeah,
especially in an artistic.
I mean, like, truly,
industry.
what is the argument for this movie existing other than making money? Like, what is it meant to be? Oh, okay. So, this actually gets into the other argument that I see in all the positive reviews of why this movie is actually a good thing to have. Right.
Yeah.
And that's that the original Snow White is actually super retrograde and cringe, and updating it for today's more like morally enlightened audience is actually like a really good thing to do. And it's something that it's like good and correct of Disney to update its movies for a modern day. And I just first of all, let's read Rachel Zegler's quote about that, because it's like, she was this is a problem with like putting the star front and center of your entire marketing campaign. I'm certain they told her that she was going to have to put up with a lot of shit for this role and have to defend her own casting. And I'm sure she was game. It seems like she was a little too game sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
So her quote that went super viral is, she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. People are making these jokes about ours being the PC Snow White, where it's like, yeah, it is, because it needed that. She told Entertainment Weekly that the original is extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for in the world, and told Extra TV the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. So we didn't do that this time. And like, that's not what happens in Snow White.
Yeah, this is something that I was really confused about, because I obviously haven't seen the movie in such a long time that I forgot there was singing in it. But that's not, like, it is dated. It's a dated story. We talked about that already. But that's literally not true. Like, he's presented as a legitimate love interest.
They have two interactions in the whole movie, and they're both positive. The first interaction ends with Snow White whimsically sending a dove down to give him a kiss.
And it's adorable.
It is adorable. So like, this idea that like she's just this completely passive entity. No. It's just simply isn't the case.
Like, you know, and I think it's important also to, when you're, this is such like a authoritative take on a topic I know some things about, but not everything. But when you're remaking something, I think like intent is really important.
Yeah.
Right? Like if let's say the goal is update the story, make it more PC, whatever. Like take a look at more than just the final product of the original. Right? What was like the whole development process of that original movie like? Because they had more scenes. They cut away to Prince Charming, like who's, by the way, not his name. He's a charming prince, but whatever. They cut away to the prince, like in the original idea, like they storyboarded out, like the prince going on his quest, looking for her, like other things. And they were like, well, we have to cut this. We have to cut this for time and budget. You know, so to say like, I'm not normally a guy who says the word woke. But this is some fucking woke bullshit that is just very infuriating to me, you know, as a
well,
pretty like
as wokesters ourselves.
Yeah,
you know,
as a pretty
it's
like fucking woke, obnoxious person. This is too much.
I mean, the thing is, like, when this idea that there's actually no like, so here's another quote from a positive review, Adam Scholes. I forget his publication. As a parent myself, I appreciate that they've managed to take what was previously a rather straightforward princess story and imbue. Oh, my dog is moving. A rather straightforward princess story, in quotes, and imbue it with some real heart and meaning. I'm sorry, but if you watch the original Snow White and you don't find heart and meaning in it, that's a you problem, dude. You know, like another quote. In 1970 original, the Snow White and her charming prince are plot devices, not people. The remake gives them depth and personality, though it doesn't go so far as to give Snow White flaws. She remains an untouchable, immaculate Disney princess. Why do we want flaws with Snow White? That is not this just like reveals to me just like such a fundamental such an immediate signal of somebody's inability to actually take stories seriously. You know, this is fucking amateur hour. The story of the point of Snow White is not that she ends up with the prince. That is not the point of the plot. Snow White is a symbol. You know, like she's a matter of folklore. There's obviously there's an extent to which Snow White is about anxieties projected onto women by male supremacy, about competition between older and younger generations. Sure. Yes, there is also absolutely. But that is not the point of Snow White. There is a much larger extent to which Snow White is speaking abstractly about what kind of traits are actually beautiful, right? And what actually denotes beauty. So it is important for the pacing of this story that the queen die as the witch and not turn back into her normal self. You know? It's like that is it's important narratively that happened because the metaphor is that if you are ugly on the inside, everybody will eventually see that in you and you will become hideous no matter how beautiful you are superficially. Which
I have known for a long time because I read Roald Dahl's Twitches when I was younger.
He also did The Witches, didn't he? Roald Dahl.
No, that's what I meant. The Witches.
Yeah. Twitches as I think a Disney original.
Isn't that the Disney Channel movie? I have not seen that one.
The Witches is an incredible movie.
I think
we could do that for a remake also. That'd be great.
Twitches and Twitches?
No.
Witches and...
Yeah.
Oh, because there was like the Anne Hathaway one, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Was there an original one?
Yes.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh my God.
There's so many options.
Wow.
There's so many.
We could just do a Roald Dahl
When I brought this idea to you, just to give the listeners a little background, when I brought this idea to you, you were like, I don't know if there's enough remakes to do enough podcast episodes.
Maybe the dumbest thing I've ever said in my life.
Stupid. I was right. Anyway, back to this. I think and one of the things that's really interesting to me, I'll say, is Disney has such a great track record of taking these old stories and turning them into modern tales that are excellent. Every movie that we're gonna watch for this season, not every movie, most of the movies, I don't think 101 Dalmatians is a Germanic folklore. But every movie, like Cinderella, obviously, Pinocchio,
Certainly the early ones, yeah.
yeah, Tarzan. Tarzan?
Sure.
Is Tarzan on there? Is that a Disney movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, definitely.
Aladdin, Hercules,
Yeah.
Moana, Frozen, Tangled. Those last two are not like haven't been remade yet, but like Disney has such a track record of taking old folklore fairy
Coco,
tale stories.
one of my favorite
and-
movies ever.
Yeah, Coco, and turning them and making them amazing, and making them modern, and making them engaging.
And pulling out
And-
the sort of like themes of those original pieces of folklore in a way that is just so much more complex than identity politics. You know, like,
And it's
yeah.
it's just such a situation of like this movie suffers so much off of its like remake element, right? Off of the fact that they're remaking 1937 Snow White instead of, for instance, retelling the original Snow White story in like that Disney way.
Yeah, the Kristen Stewart version looks just like
Snow White and the Huntsman.
Yes. Like I don't like that movie either, but I at least respect it, you know?
Yeah.
At least they were trying to do some kind of reinterpretation of some sort, you know? It's just like, it's really, really difficult to get away from the feeling that this movie is kind of ashamed of its origins, you know?
Absolutely.
And in the sort of, you know, tradition of that's developing of Disney remakes that is just so awful to see. That like it's really, really hard not to interpret most, if not all, of these remakes as somehow correcting the original, you know, in a way that is just off. That like, first of all, it was a horrible business decision because you're just like degrading the sort of brand integrity of your own company. Why would you do that? You know, but then also is just like, I don't know, just sort of like internally insulting, and not to mention insulting to the audience. You know,
it's horrible. I think, you know, Warner Brothers got a lot of shit for shelving a bunch of their movies when they merged, and rightfully so. I think in a lot of instances, this is a movie that Disney should never have released. In the state that it's in, there's no version of this that goes well. And now I'm a recovering theater kid. I obviously love musicals.
Oh, you and I are massive theater kids both.
Yeah. I grew up literally, and like the reason I'm so excited to do this season, I grew up watching like Snow White, Cinderella, Hercules, Lion King, Little Mermaid, Aladdin, like on VHS on my parents' like little 11-inch CRT television with a built-in VHS, like multiple times per day. Yeah, I would watch these movies.
Yeah, I was like, you know, as a millennial child and anybody older, it was, you know, the entire Disney library was sort of normal fare, and it kind of feels like now, I don't know if I kind of doubt this is conscious, but it sort of seems like what Disney is saying is you should show your kids this one instead. Yeah, you know.
I mean, it's that, and it's also like Disney had such a clear idea of who it was, and this is interesting, and we'll talk about this element more when we get to this series of movies. But Disney was really struggling in the 80s, and I think the late 70s into the 80s, and they reimagined themselves, and they went back to what worked, and they came out with just like fucking 6 incredible animated movies.
The Hunchback of Notre Dame will never get remade. It's a minor miracle that movie ever happened at all.
But it's amazing, and they're all great. Amazing. And it's a bit of a tragedy to see such a strong storytelling company with such a strong storytelling tradition fall into this like modern corporate trap of like it's profit above everything, because if this keeps going, the Disney name is not going to mean anything.
It's
in 10
I mean,
years.
already it means less and less, you know, like going to Disney Plus and seeing, you know, sort of like adult themed Hulu stuff in their library because they've bought Hulu is like that's
you
not
own
good
both
for Disney.
things. Just keep the adult stuff on. Like keep owning it. Just call it something else. Whatever.
And
I'm not
so
a marketing guy.
I mean, it's just like really, really difficult to imagine that that Disney has really any respect for its own IP right now, and it really seems to me that is very much a result of I don't know. I think there's a lot of factors that go into this, but one of them is this sort of plague of literalism happening in storytelling right now that I think that the entire sort of live action ambition is very much a part of, you know, that like, wouldn't these movies be better if we could structure them in real life, if we could make them a real life thing, and then it would be like the story you love, but really the way it's supposed to be seen.
Absolutely. And
know?
I think there's so much corporate control of the story that you get so many elements. One of the things about the modern movie that I noticed, in addition to it generally being quite shit, is nonstop telling.
Yes. Okay.
Nonstop.
So,
Why is Snow White great and sweet? Is it because we see her helping animals?
Exactly.
Because we see her being kind to animals? No, it's because they tell us that she's nice.
Exactly. And so
why is the, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's like, you know, with this sort of corporate feminism thing that they're doing here, it's like just such a fundamental misunderstanding of what Snow White, the original Snow White's virtues are supposed to be, right? Yeah. Like she's not supposed to be like, again, there's one, you know, method of interpretation where you can say that, yes, she's this sort of like imposed patriarchal fantasy of idealized feminism or whatever. But she's also like, either in the folklore or in the original Snow White, she is not meant to be taken as a literal model for how girls should literally behave. She's supposed to be a symbol of how true beauty is confluent with humility and kindness and vulnerability.
And cooking.
But I mean, the cooking isn't, but like the kind of like service and labor she performs is actually like a pretty important aspect of this movie. The humility that she's showing is not exactly coded as submissiveness. Like she doesn't just show up at the dwarves.
She takes over the
she does,
household.
and like she's not showing up, and she's not cooking and cleaning for the dwarves because she's like, you know, doing it as a favor, or she's like fucking trad wifing or whatever. She's cooking and cleaning for them because she needs housing. This is like, because it's rude to crash at somebody's house indefinitely, regardless of how desperate you are, without giving something back. And she is good at cooking and cleaning because she has been relegated to being a servant. And the virtue of Snow White is not like the fact that girls are just naturally good at cooking and cleaning. It's that she is a person who still finds joy in taking care of her surroundings, and she doesn't consider that kind of work below her station.
And
you know?
compare that to like 2025 version where she walks into these strangers' house, and then falls asleep on 3 beds.
Yeah.
What?
And the dwarves don't appear at back at their house and say, "Oh my gosh, it's clean in here. What the fuck?"
Yeah.
They just
There was some elements, and I think we can wrap up soon.
Sure.
But there were, right? I don't know how long.
I don't know.
This is supposed to go.
How long is a piece of string, Gus?
It's as long as you cut it. Oh. There's a lot of, in terms of that like literalism stuff, and in the movies, and the corporations attempt to sort of head themselves off any like sort of Twitter criticism.
Yeah.
Just like the lowest brow, most fucking stupid ass,
brain rotted,
like I have never
nonsense.
seen a movie before in my life criticism. They end up making it worse.
I know.
Where it's like, why are the dwarves mean to Dobby?
I know.
Like they are cruel.
They are.
To this like nice little boy.
They're not cruel to him in the original one.
No, he's just a guy.
Yeah.
And he helps out and he does like, you know, they make like in an attempt to make Snow White sort of more corporate feminism, the character, they make her like a freeloading,
right,
kind of prissy bitch.
Yeah, and it's like
what's another
it's
word I
kinda...
can use than bitch? A freeloading, you know, prissy princess.
Yes, yeah, and it's like I keep seeing you know, any positive words about this, you know, mention how like, oh, she, you know, Rachel Zegler is so good in this role. She makes it. She has ambition, but she's not like entitled. And no, I'm sorry, but there is some entitlement in, like you said, showing up at somebody's house and just falling asleep in their bed.
Yeah.
As opposed to the original one where she literally says out loud, "I'll clean up their house. Maybe then they'll let me stay."
Yeah.
You know, and
there's also there's so much like she comes across as outrageously naive.
Yes.
In this movie.
Yes.
Like profoundly like does not understand. She's like, well, I'm sure the evil queen will give you some food if you ask nicely.
Right. It's like you're trying to tell me that this girl is going to be a good leader for this country, and I'm sorry, but I just don't believe it because of how naive she is. And it's like it's so short-sighted and just dumb to pretend that the point of the original Snow White and the part that we should all be focused on is the power dynamic of this kingdom. No. Snow White is a fable. It is a matter of folklore. The queen and the dwarves and the princess are all symbols of virtue and vice. That's it. That's what's happening here. They are metaphors meant to be demonstrations of what is beauty actually.
It's an allegory.
It's an allegory.
And it's a really beautiful, well-animated, funny allegory.
Yeah. Yeah.
And today's version is just bad.
It's awful. Oh my God.
It's awful.
Oh, it's so awful. Oh, what are we going to do? Oh my God, it's so bad. Oh my God. I like truly, I watched this with my lovely, wonderful boyfriend whose his main quote was directed at you. He said, "I will never forgive Gus for putting me through this."
Yeah.
Genuinely,
sorry.
The dwarves in this movie are one of the most unsettling experiences I've had cinematically ever.
Oh my God. I cannot stress enough how much I wanted to come into this, like finding the diamond in the rough.
I know.
You know, having something, some positive parts to say. And it just...
I have positive things to say about most Disney remakes, even though I hate them in the entire venture. And the entire argument for making them, you know.
They're all bad.
They all suck, obviously. But there is talent on display in some of them. I see very little talent on display here. Rachel Zegler has a great princess voice. Awesome. Yeah. Lots of people have great princess voices.
Oof. So which one did you like more?
Fuck you.
I also liked 1937 Snow White more.
What an amazing movie. Genuinely.
It's so good. I was like gobsmacked.
Yeah, I was too. I don't remember it. I mean, I knew it was going to be better, you know.
Yeah. I really recommend anyone listening, and also anyone not listening, although I don't know how they would hear this.
Through the vibes. Your vibes are so strong.
Yeah, the vibes. Yeah. Watch the original movie. Honestly, watch both movies before you listen to this. We should probably should have put that at the beginning.
Whatever, that's their responsibility.
Yeah, watch the fucking movies. Cool. I'm excited for next week or next 2 weeks, next session, next episode.
Yeah. What is?
I think we're looking at Pinocchio.
Hell yeah. Oh,
1940s Pinocchio.
Yeah, I watched that one all the time too. That was that was
that one is definitely not a musical, right?
No, it is a musical. Yeah.
It is a musical?
Yeah,
Are
definitely.
they all musicals?
I've got no strings to hold me down.
Oh my God.
When you wish upon a star. Come on, Gus. Do you know Disney or not?
Well,
Why are
when
we
you
here?
wish upon a star, nobody's singing that. Like it's
Jiminy
it's
Cricket
an
is singing
off-screen-
it.
Fuck. We're cutting this whole thing. Really excited to watch next episode's movies, Pinocchio and Pinocchio, 1940 and 1922.
I have not seen the new
I'm
ones.
sorry, 1940 and 2022. I think it was because it was a COVID movie. I think it was straight to Disney Plus.
It was, yes. I
think
definitely
it came
remember
out.
that. Yeah, and then it also came out like a year before Guillermo del Toro's version of
Yeah.
Pinocchio, which is incredible.
As a Latina, what's your opinion on Latina Snow White?
This actually is something that I thought about bringing up. Rachel Zegler is quoted as saying that like this is really fun and cool for me because Snow White, Blancanieves is really important culturally to a lot of Latino communities for whatever reason, and she's absolutely correct about that. For some reason, Latin people love Snow White. I don't know what it is.
Well, I'd love to propose an insane idea, which is that I don't think that that your culture needs to be directly represented in something to find something to like about it.
Yes, correct. Yes, and also and like it's like this is a sword that cuts both ways though, because the reason that Blancanieves is important to like in my case Mexican culture is because it's a German fairy tale, and that was like a colonial import. So is it necessarily the best thing if we're being concerned with like identity politics? Is it necessarily the best thing for Latin culture to be represented by a European folk tale? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think it's worth discussing.
Yeah. But it's especially, and I don't know. It's so whatever. We'll talk about it later. I think this is more of like a '90s Disney discussion.
Maybe
when they did show, I guess, their version of all these different. Anyway,
yeah, I'm excited for
thanks
Pinocchio.
for listening, everybody.
Pinocchio is a dark ass movie. It's another occasion in which like we get to confront the fact that like this is not just for kids.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how they do that in the modern movie, because I don't trust Disney to like let kids be afraid anymore.
I don't either.
So that'll be really interesting to see.
It will. Yeah.
To watch. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
First episode of Once More with Feeling, a podcast about really great original movies and their often less great remakes. If you want to support us, we have a Patreon. That is just the name of this podcast, and we'll link it somewhere. You can become a member of our movie club, get access to the show's Discord, some other things that we haven't figured out yet. You can follow us on various social medias at With Feeling Pod, POD. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, send us an email at withfeelingpod@gmail.com.
Yeah, please do. We await your letters.
Yeah. Thanks so much for listening, and we will see you next time. Oh wait, I wanted to do the movie. Recommend a different movie.
Oh yeah, do so. Recommend your different movie. I have one too.
I watched a really great Western, and I don't like Westerns. I watched a really great Western from the 50s called The Treasure of the Sierra Madres. Humphrey Bogart. It's a bunch of other people. It's great. Watch it.
Okay. I watched 28 Days Later yesterday in preparation for watching 28 Years Later today. Good movie.
Were you skipping 28 Weeks Later?
Yeah, I hear it's not important I haven't seen it. I've only seen 28 Days Later, but I don't know. I might watch it when I come back, because I plan to make, either write something or film something about it. But yeah, very good movie. Very, very spooky. Super interesting. I don't know. It's easy to forget that fast zombies was similar to our discussion of Snow White here, where it's like animation was a big deal at one point. It wasn't clear what it was for, and it wasn't clear what it was going to be, what its cultural place was. And similar for fast zombies. The assumption that zombies were always going to be slow and pokey was completely upended by this movie, and the way that they sell that is really quite frightening. Is that the
only Alex Garland movie that you like?
No. I love Annihilation. It's one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Complicated feelings about his career.
Yeah. Great. And then now we do the outro. We do that here where I'm talking right now.
Yes.
All right.
We can do that.
Cool. I think we did it. I think we're
so.
done.
I think so.
Cool.
Just
Let's stop recording.
stay and buzz once more with feeling. When you're out of fresh